According to the American Psychological Association, the average age at which children are exposed to pornography is roughly 13. The age at which young members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are preparing to enter the temple for the first time. The APA also indicated that 61% of these exposures are unintentional. These exposures, however, can quickly morph into addictions that can leave families decimated when left untreated. After years of researching pornography addiction and how to help others overcome it, I had the opportunity to take a substance abuse and addiction recovery class. I know several people who have struggled with pornography addiction, and I hoped that by taking the class, I would be better equipped to understand where they were coming from and how to help them overcome it. What I have learned these last 5 years is that the keys to overcoming pornography addiction are vulnerability and love. These keys can mean the difference between a life of isolation and secrecy and a life of hope and healing. I will address the prevalence of pornography addiction, what we can do to help facilitate lasting change, and finally, my vision for a world free of the shame of pornography addiction. Contrary to popular belief, members of the church are not immune to pornography addiction. According to BetterHelp Addiction Care, one of Utah's top rehabilitation centers, sex addiction, including pornography addiction, is Utah's third most common addiction, with 116,000 Utah residents suffering from sex addiction. Considering that 68% of Utah residents are members of the church, it's highly unlikely that all of those Utahns with sex addictions are non-members. I also recently conducted a survey among fellow BYU students, friends, and family, and found that 72.7% of surveyors were afraid or had loved ones who were afraid to discuss their pornography addiction with others. That fear is what drives individuals into a continual cycle of isolation and secrecy that can cause their addiction to spiral out of control. So, how do we help those who struggle with pornography addiction overcome it and heal? It all starts with how we respond to the problem. On average, surveyors reported talking to 3 people about their addiction, including friends, church leaders, and parents. When they were asked how these individuals responded to their discussion about pornography addiction, the results varied. Friends were accepting and positive and forgiving in their response, while parents were condemning and negative, and church leaders were split, some being forgiving and others condemning. For this very reason, many individuals are afraid to discuss their addiction with others. While their feelings of fear are validated, Breanna Brown, research professor at the University of Houston, claims that vulnerability is exactly what we need. She says, vulnerability is the core of shame and fear and our struggle for worthiness, but it also appears that it is the birthplace of joy, of creativity, of belonging, and of love. When our friends and family confide in us, we need to be careful not to continue to feed that fear by shunning, condemning, and acting negatively towards them. This could cause them to begin that same cycle. Instead, we need to counteract that fear by responding with forgiveness, compassion, and positivity in order to help them find hope and healing. To illustrate how this change would work, I'd like to talk about Spencer and Charlie, 2 hypothetical people who represent many people suffering from pornography addiction. They both encountered pornography at an early age and worked hard to overcome their addiction. But now Spencer talks with his family about his pornography experience and what he did to overcome it, while Charlie still hasn't told anyone about it and worries that one day they will relapse and their family will find out. The difference between Spencer and Charlie was the attitude of their church leaders and parents. While Spencer's parents responded with love and support, Charlie's did not. While Spencer's church leaders recognized their struggle, Charlie's leaders didn't anticipate the extent to which they would struggle. As members of the church, we tend to look upon sins like pornography and make judgments. We avoid those who have sinned in hopes that our children, our families, and we ourselves will not be affected by them. This is not, however, what the gospel teaches. Christ taught us to reach out to the sinner and help them heal, to forgive others. Our homes and hearts should be safe places where others can talk about what they're going through. We all know someone who may be at risk for the development of a pornography addiction. Talk to them early about whether or not they have encountered pornography and offer your support. If you know someone who is currently struggling or has struggled in the past, and especially when they confide in you about it, celebrate that they were willing to talk with you about it. Offer support and love, and help them if they want to change. If someone has confided in you and you have responded negatively, reach out to them again and talk to them the right way. You can be the difference between a life of darkness and despair and one of light and love. Thank you.